SLIP at the ABE Colliery. Because major man-made catastrophes are uncommon in Britain, the Aberfan Colliery slide was all the more startling. The neighboring coal mine, founded in 1869, served as the foundation for the development of Aberfan, a village in the Welsh valleys. By 1966, the community had expanded, and 7 enormous spoil piles of mining waste ringed the village. That's not necessarily a problem, but in October 1966, the community of Aberfan saw a downpour of over 6 inches, which led to the subsidence of the 7th spoil pile. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, a massive amount of soaked debris broke away from the pile at 9:15 Greenwich Mean Time on October 21, 1966, and began to move toward the settlement at speeds between 11 and 21 miles per hour, between 17 and 34 kilometers per hour, and in waves as high as 30 feet, 9 meters. The next one is Seveso disaster. North of Milan, Italy, a chemical facility was the scene of this industrial tragedy. According to the journal Chemisphere, on Saturday, July 10, 1976, the facility was generating a substance called 245-trichlorophenol, which has been employed as a chemical weapon and in weed killers. 6 tons of hazardous chemicals exploded into the air that day after a chain reaction destroyed the reactor. According to the journal Environment Worldwide, the cloud covered 6 square miles, 18 square kilometers, of the surrounding area, including the town of Seveso. Numerous locals suffered from skin diseases, hundreds of people were hospitalized for skin inflammations, and vast tracts of land had to be evacuated. To stop the introduction of contaminants into the food, thousands of animals perished or had to be killed. The Seveso catastrophe also had a long-term effect. According to studies, since 1976, more local inhabitants have passed away from heart and lung conditions, and the others. Another one is Bhopal gas tragedy. According to The Atlantic, a gas leak occurred at a pesticide facility in Bhopal, India, on December 2, 1984. Opens in new tab. A runaway pressure increase caused by failing safety systems led to the release of 40 tons of the chemical methyl isocyanate into the atmosphere. Advertisement. More than 600,000 individuals were exposed to the lethal cloud since there was such a significant volume of poisonous material there, and the factory was bordered by a congested neighborhood. There was a delay in informing the nearby residents, and the hospital staff received inconsistent information regarding the situation. As previously documented by Live Science, thousands of innocent people perished within hours as a result of coughing, eye irritation, burns, dyspnea, and vomiting. Additionally, thousands of animals died. Longer-term studies since the accident have confirmed that many thousands of people are still affected by eye, lung, and psychological damage, and even today, it's hard to say exactly how many people have suffered. Fourth one is Chernobyl meltdown. One of the most well-known man-made disasters in history is the Chernobyl explosion, and with good reason. It all began innocently enough, with engineers conducting a standard experiment to see if the plant's emergency water cooling would function in the event of a power outage. The test had been performed before, but this time there was a power surge, making it impossible for experts to turn off Chernobyl's nuclear reactors. One reactor experienced a steam buildup, roof collapse, nuclear core exposure, and radioactive material leakage into the atmosphere. 28 persons succumbed to acute radiation exposure and quickly passed suddenly, along with workers and firefighters who were hospitalized. The military's involvement and nearly 2 weeks were required to put out the fires. Importantly, it took over a day to evacuate the 50,000 people who lived in nearby Pripyat. After that, the authorities created a containment dome over the site and a 19-mile, 30-kilometer exclusion zone. Studies predict that hundreds of individuals have died from cancer as a result of the radiation in the years since the incident. It's also one of the most expensive disasters in history, and containment and cleanup work are expected to go until 2065. Next one is the Sidoarjo mud volcano. Most people imagine lava streaming from a volcano, yet the largest mud volcano in the world is located in Sidoarjo, Indonesia. It was caused by an explosion at a gas well that an energy company had dug, But business representatives contend that an earthquake some 155 miles, 250 kilometers away was the culprit. According to the journal Mud Volcanoes, Geodynamics, and Seismicity, there are more than 1,000 mud volcanoes in the world, but this Indonesian example is likely the only one brought on by human activities. Opens in new tab. On May 28, 2006, a borehole was dug to a depth of about 10,000 feet, 3,000 meters. This led neighboring ground to erupt with water, steam, and gas. The next day, water, steam, and mud started to emerge once more, and they have continued to do so ever since. Officially known as Lumpur Lapindo, it is also known as the Lucy volcano. Last one is the Jilin chemical plant explosion. This incident, which occurred in November 2005 in the Chinese city of Jilin, involved several explosions at a petrochemical plant. More than 10,000 people were evacuated from the region immediately after the explosions. Even while that's horrible, it's not the whole picture. According to the Environmental Emergency Centers, the explosions dumped around 110 tons, 100 metric tons, of contaminants into the Songwa River, which was significant because numerous large cities rely on that river for their water supply. Water had to be transferred from unaffected cities to help the population cope as supplies were cut off for several days while the water supplies were being cleaned up. Some cities dug deep water wells to ensure that they won't be totally dependent on rivers for their water supplies. Toxins from the original explosions didn't just affect Chinese water supplies either. Chemicals were detected in Russian cities and in the Sea of Japan.